Welcome to Fireside-episode. This is Drift. I'm here with Cook. And welcome on the stage here. We got Strange Cook and Handy.
Strange
Sid,
Cook.
Be Reddy is up here. We want to talk about what we've been talking about for the last 24 hours, this 3-day Borg event. There's been a thing with mechanics that we want to discuss. There's the Nona relationship that's, I guess, Handy can speak on. And Sid wants to talk about the importance of crews. And Frodia, is that his name?
Frodia, her name.
Her? Okay.
Yeah.
So we're going to start with the Borg, I guess. Go ahead, Cook.
I figured that was the long one. Well, we all know this Borg event was kind of shitty.
Yeah.
But I will say, talking to DJ yesterday in the Trek Talk podcast, thanks Kirk and Handy for that. And of course his little show on the side there too. He did some math that breaking it down, it kind of makes sense what he was talking about, where if you plan this event out properly, the whole thing's about the nanoprobes and being able to upgrade your officers, which has been the biggest complaint about the Borg. The way to do it is just as elongated and frustrating as, say, dealing with the Stella and Rogue Research. But at least Rogue Research, you can see right off the bat what you need to do and plan accordingly. This whole Borg thing, it took 3 days and DJ breaking it down for pretty much everyone for us to get it.
I think the main reason people complain about Borg is there's no way for people that want to spend money to get it done. Whereas like with the Stella, the higher level people have been done with it for a long time. You know what I mean? Every other arc, like you got Swarm, you got you've got the Vidar, you've got all these other things that you can just go ahead and max them out and be the badass boy on the block. But with Borg officers specifically, there's nothing we can do. Like we just can't get the shit.
Yeah, there's no way to adequately grind to get it. There's not even a way to adequately pay to get it.
Not in a reasonable fashion. Not at the rate that they charge.
No.
So I mean, any like with pretty much all other types of officers, you can easily source the materials or use Latinum or any other many options. But with Borg, it just sucks.
Yeah, you could even use Latinum for like the for independent credits if you really have to. But you can't do that with nanoprobes, active ones.
Right.
Yeah.
Now they did fix the independent credit thing with the Borg store. Like now you can actually source them, especially if you have the Prime Borg.
Sure, if you want to free to play them, yeah. You can free to play it that way, or you can literally just buy them with Latinum if you're not free to play, right?
But it just takes forever.
A lot of Latinum. Or a lot of time.
Yeah.
Or both.
Well, everything in this game, I think we can safely say, takes a lot of time and patience.
Yeah, but I mean, okay, so 1.1 million divided by, let's look at the math.
Well, I was talking more about the independent credits. The active nanoprobes is ridiculous.
It's like 11,000 for rank 4 and 25,000 for rank 5, I think, for indie credits.
Yeah.
So
it's about 9,600 active nanoprobes per day if you have the Prime.
Right. But so in a month, if you remember to hit the button every day, that's only 288K.
It's 115 days, Handy.
So that's reasonable. It's a long time, but it's reasonable considering I've been playing this game for years.
Yeah,
I
but
don't know if reasonable is what I would say, but it is something that's you can't accomplish it, right?
if they do this new Borg arc, every month or something, then I think that kind of fixes the issue personally.
I agree.
Well,
Now,
And I actually,
if Scopely
Not
had told
truly.
us,
It only fixes the issue for pay to play. It doesn't fix the issue for free to play.
well, it does in a way. You still get to source more because you can still get directives free to play.
you can source more, but it's not. It's not like the.
That event gave you a little over 100K being free to play, I believe, right? Isn't that what
100
DJ said?
Like if you were able to do the mega cubes, is what you're saying?
No, I'm saying
No,
no,
without,
you could do
it
it on
was-
Borg
without the
Ethics.
mega probes.
Yeah, 18,000 times 5 if you had 5 people who had 10 directives, which you could have gotten if you spent store bits on getting them. And if you were not listening to, DJs shouting about that the other day. But, if you took, I think we got a total of 6 or 7 and you could get a few more. And if you were in a top alliance, you could get a couple more maybe. But if you could get 10 and you could get 5 people to run 5 Borg Epics, the 35s, not the Mega Cubes, you could get 18,000 per start plus 4,500 divided by yada yada yada, right? So you could get close to like
I thought he said it was like
40,000, I
118K
think.
or something.
Yeah.
No, he said that
14,000.
guy. I think he was saying basically for every $100 you spent, you could get like 100K. Because that guy who spent,
Oh, that's
he-
okay. Yeah.
yeah, that guy
Yeah,
who
that's
spent
different.
$300 all on Mega Cube directives, walked away with about 400,000 active nanobots.
Yeah, you could do 363,000 off Mega Cubes with the free bonus Mega Cube, plus what you got for being on the Mega Cube if you had people smart enough to start them on active nanoprobes and not on inactive.
That's still just for the investment. When you start talking about the person that spent $300 or whatever, when you start talking about the investment, 400K, that's a drop in the bucket, especially once you start getting these officers up there.
Exactly.
I mean, it's not when you start talking about it over, spending money on. I can think of a lot better things to spend $300 on in this game if I were going to choose to do that.
I don't know, Kirk. I think Handy's point is pretty valid. The ability of anyone to acquire these nanoprobes has been basically throttled to the same amount for free or pay to play, right? So
Right.
if you take the free to play model and you have folks either doing uncommons or rares or however they do it, it was really tight. But if they had known in advance, or if anyone had listened to me in my alliance, they could have gotten through several of these events, gotten the starter chest, rotated through them, shared the chests appropriately. They could have gotten somewhere in the order of about 30 to 40,000 active nanos for free to play and about 400,000 for pay to play.
I mean, I get it. Like, don't get me wrong. It's an opportunity to get more active nanoprobes. Like, I understand that. But when you consider how much of a pain in the ass it is to get that little bit, it's I don't know, man. It's kind of like trying to fight off a dragon with a fucking spork. I feel like the benefits, the
disagree.
risk to reward
It did not-
ratio, I just don't think it's great.
The event was easy. It's not like there was a lot of time invested. It was just the knowledge that we lacked.
Well, yeah, but at the same time, for say an alliance like Dead, middle of the road, we only have a few people with max Vidars. Timing is everything. If we want to be able to run those mega cubes, we have to have the timing down hardcore. With alliance like Nona or Dark, you can call it out and you have a guaranteed showing with max Vidars.
You don't need max Vidars to beat Mega Cubes, guys. You just need 6. And I want to be... I don't have a max Vidar. My Vidar's tier 8 because fuck the Borg grind. I hate it with a deep, fiery passion of 10,000 burning suns, and I just stopped doing it except for my active nanoprobe goal. I haven't done charged nanos in months. I don't give a fuck about the rest of it. And, I will occasionally take some extra time, like we have those events to grind, and then I'll use the extras to buy like a back of charge, and I'll get some indie credits or whatever. But like, it has been so frustrating to do Borg every day, all day, I just dropped that side of it, really. So that's me. I don't think it's. But my point here is, you can do it with people even without all the extra research. I understand my research advantage, but if you have people who are listening, you have 1 9 of 10 show up, a bunch of 5 and 10, or 8 of 10. If people don't fuck around with their crews, they don't show up with their Yahtzee crew or Pike Moreau Chen. You can do it with 6 if you have people that are 39s that have the 6-man things. If you're trying it with 5s, you really do need to be very, very, very good. Those all need to be maxed. They need to be with the perfect crews at the right level, etc. But 6, I don't know. I mean, even our mid 35 folks were doing fine, and that wasn't with Kevin and Chemo showing up with triplets or with almost 2 million size Vidars.
Yeah, we were just talking about that right before the show, Cook and I. Like, I cannot stand probe hunting. Like, and I don't have a max Vidar yet. Mine's still tier 8 because of the crazy amount of whatever they're called now that you got to get to get that thing max. Charging probes, right?
I tend to do like 2 rounds of Borg every other day. Gets me what I need to do. My max active probes refine and a small charge to get independent credits. It works. It's part of that daily grind kind of thing.
I feel it. I mean, I think that I'm not mad about people who do the grind, of course, right? I just, there was a point where I just one day decided, nope, fuck it. Once in a while, it gets some charged. And
there are plenty of days I do the same thing.
No, I get where you guys are coming from, but it's actually one of the best sources for credits.
Yeah, it is.
It is, but I spend money.
Yeah.
Of course, I'm actually in a different position right now because I have the skin. I have my 5 at T4, so I actually do double pulls of both every single day. So I do both my runs every single day. I get 3 out of 4 days. I get everything independent, and I get all 3 faction credits. And one day I get 2 faction credits and independent. That's actually a good run.
That is a very good run.
I don't think anybody's debating whether or not it's worth it. I mean, obviously, it's really good, and especially for someone who's still trying to get all your epic ships, or once you start grinding for your G4 ships, it's really good. I think it's just the grind in and of itself is what Darius is talking about. It's with all the other stuff that we have going on. You have to sacrifice something.
I mean, are you all of you are old players, or you guys have joined recently in the last 1 year, 1.5 year?
No, I'm on 2 years now.
Yeah, I'm
well
well
over
over
2 years at least.
I've been
well
there
over
since
2 years.
and we did not get credits, dude.
Yeah, no.
I remember those days.
I mean,
Yeah,
I'm talking about the days, forget credits. I'm talking about the days when the daily events actually made a difference. The daily research events, 48 million pass steal, that was considered like God. If somebody actually won that event, we all used to stalk them. We used to stalk the guy if we didn't spend it, because that's the only way to progress. That's how bad it was. So it's very different,
I don't
right?
disagree. I've been playing since November 2018, right? And those daily events mattered when the resource scale was a lot different, right? But the resource scale is different today, and I think that's okay. Those events.
I get the fact that the resource scale is different, but also you forget the fact that you need so many credits to actually get the G4 ships. Okay, I mean, I understand that you guys are still not gotten there, but imagine you need 510,000 for a rare, and you need over 1 million for an epic.
Yes.
I did it free to play, by the way. I haven't spent a single penny. I actually saved Romulan credits for close to 8 months or a year, and I got my pylon for free. And I could actually get a Corona right now if I want. I have 700,000. I'm just saying that it's still not. I only did it because I did every single thing in the game. I did my dailies, I did my my rep events, and I did my Borg. They're very important.
But I think the point that I'm trying to make here is that for a lot of people, even for someone like me, I own a business, and I do most of it's virtually online. So I do have a lot of time when I'm sitting down and I can go back and forth. But even for someone like me, I don't have the time to do every single thing every single day. So if I have to drop one of those things, the first thing to go is going to be Borg. The second thing to go is going to be, well, the first thing to go is freaking data mining. The second thing to go is Borg, and the third thing to go is grinding for the little tokens in rogue space. So those are the things you end up getting sacrificed. And yeah, I mean, I played the game before there was even augment space. You know what I mean? I remember when armadas were a big deal. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah,
Just then, yeah.
I joined right when Augment Space came out.
Augment Space did not have Armadas. Armadas came like almost 6 months after Augment, bro.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah,
I remember
they did.
I remember when
the entire galaxy, it was based on the pay-to-win people in order for people to actually do armadas, because you had to have the ACC and you had to get the armada command thingies in order to build the ACC. So we needed people to buy armada directives or to buy the things to build their ACCs in order to launch armadas, in order for the free-to-play people to even be able to start doing armadas.
Yeah, when they first introduced augment space, I was still just casually playing. I wasn't playing like I am now. I played like I would log on once every day or two and do a few things. It was just something I would use to kill time when I was taking a shit. And then I was like, oh, okay, that's cool or whatever. And then when I really started getting into it was probably about a month or two before they dropped the armadas. And man, that whole system was bungled, like Cook was saying. But yeah, I mean, so to come back around full circle, we're getting off topic. To come back around full circle, in conclusion, I would say that the event to me is kind of a nice reprieve from the Apex hunt and all that stuff. It's kind of nice to be able to get some more of those nanoprobes, and whether or not people think it's worth it for the shards for the Borg officers and stuff like that. I mean, for some people it is. I was able to get like 15 or 16, 17 shards for 2 of 10, or whichever one it is, the mining officer. So I get it, but I think the biggest issue that most people are having is not necessarily with the event itself, but in true Scopely fashion, they're a day late and $1 short. These are things that should have been. This is stuff that should have been instituted, a year ago. And just when people start to figure out a different way and move on, they then introduce these new events or these different dynamics. And I think the issue is just that it just took them too long.
I agree with that. They're also running behind on updating a lot of events. I mean, Cow, even Faction Hunt, and what's that? And that Monday. All those events need to be updated to be more equal to what people are getting these days. I mean, part of my issue with the whole Borg event was Swarm Sunday gives you more epics. Swarm Sunday gives you a bigger payout than all 3 days of the Borg event. Now,
that's just a single event.
What I will say
event had payout.
Well, the event store. I will say though that if they were giving out, if the event's supposed to be kind of like a cosmic cleanup kind of event with a small payout and not a lot of effort, I agree they should group it up with another one. And I like that idea of grouping it up with Cal. It made sense. Because, I mean, we're training a member right now, helping him get up to speed. And he asked us on Saturday, I think it was, when we just had the recruit event. He asked, what do I need to do today? And he said, it's a free day. Do whatever you want. I didn't even bother playing on Saturday. I did my dailies and that was it. You know, it's a free day. Scopely doesn't want Saturday to be a free day. Scopely wants eyes on the screen.
Yeah. Now, if they did this like every week or even once a month or
No,
whatever,
once
and you had this idea like, okay, I need 2 of 10, right? Myself. I need another 14 shards. So if I want to free to play that, that might take me a few months and then I'll have him. Or if you're after the charged nano or the active nanoprobes and you want to take that route, whether you want to buy a pack or 2 packs, 3 packs or whatever, or no packs and free to play and just add that to your supply that you're getting through Borg store to eventually, promote your officers, then this could be something that would be very nice. But we would have to know that that's going to happen, not going to be like, is it going to happen? Does it happen like they've been doing this, this refinery event that sometimes comes and, sometimes doesn't. It needs to be actual consistency to it.
I hope that they do come up with a fixed schedule for things like this. I don't mind the 2-week gap between arcs. I think it's great if they have things in there that we want to do. And I think it should be kind of a grab bag of those 3 or 4 things, where it's not always cow, then apex, then faction hunt, then whatever, or whatever the sequence is. But they could take those 3 things and split them into the other, 6 to 11 days that are in a month period or whatever it is between their arcs. Because those tend to run about 22 days, right? So that period is the normal content release, and then between they have the whatever they're doing to get stuff done. And I like the time between. I just don't want it to always be the same thing. It just would be nice if it rotated between some predictable things, if that makes sense. Because I think Handy made a point about this a few weeks ago. There's little interest to me in doing cow. I get it done, right? Because I'm in the alliance that gets it done. And I do my part. But I will only check the basic box every day because that event is painful. Same thing with 4 days of faction hunt this time, which, was
it 4 days? I thought it was 3 days.
Is it 3 or 4? I don't know. It's 3. It's a lot of faction hunt. My eyes are crossed about it right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's 3 days.
At least with faction hunt, you're getting your credits and your experience and shit.
I didn't hit a single hostel yesterday.
I do my grinding for your Romulan lock though.
Aren't
you supposed to be grinding for your Romulan lock?
Yeah, supposed to be.
I'm supposed to be grinding for my Fed lock, and I'm not even going to get to $1 billion. I'm just going to get enough to get to Newton, and then I'm going to switch because I don't give an F about the Enterprise A.
Wait, what level are you, Handy?
50.
Yeah, like Kemsol says, I like the rewards, but I hate the grind.
Yeah.
So what have you locked till now? Have you locked all 3? You have locked.
Just Fed. And I'm working on ROM. Just being lazy.
Yeah, I'm being really lazy too. I actually dueled Klingon and Romulan. I finished them. I'm at about 600. So I have
a lot of grinding.
I have 400 million to go that I'm done.
Yeah, it's a lot of grinding.
Yeah, that's like another one of those things that, regardless of the punishment that you might entail by it, like if you hate rep grinding, then you're just going to sacrifice getting the ship that you're after for a longer period of time. It's just based on, if you don't enjoy it, then why put yourself through that pain?
No, nobody really enjoys it. I mean, to be fair, it's not like
No, I don't think anybody. But some people get some sick pleasure out of it.
No, I will admit. I think.
Does that make sense? Like it's not. It's never going to be somebody's favorite thing.
I think more people hate this game than like it, yet we keep playing it anyways.
It's because it's addictive.
Yeah,
it's because we all have a mental illness.
We totally do.
Or
We hate so much of this game. We've all played better games, and yet we still give it money and still do it. And that's why we all say it's a social game. The only reason we keep playing is for the people.
But there's no other game. I'm telling you right now, you're going to be hard pressed to find another game that's out there that is as complicated as this game that has so many different aspects to it.
100%, yes.
Yeah, it's the nuance and the challenge of crewing and things like that makes this attractive. You know, it's
Everything. There's so much.
Other players and such.
You could probably, and it sounds like a joke, but you could probably have a college, and you could major and get an associate's degree in STFC.
Probably.
I guess that makes us
think about it.
Now, if only I could get paid for my knowledge, that would be wonderful.
Think about look at how much time and effort and knowledge that Darius has as it pertains to crewing and some of these other mathematical equations that are required in this game. I mean, if you really break it down, you have a history portion of it. You have mathematics, portion. You have strategy portion. I mean, no shit. There's so much stuff going on in this game, and that's why I can see, especially for people who are just starting to play this game now, I can understand why people would open it up and go, well, fuck this. It's just, if you didn't grow with this game, it's so overwhelming.
Yes. Yeah.
It is incredibly complicated based on where it was like 2 or 3 years ago. It's pretty nuts. Like what is in there now versus what, when I started playing 2.5 years ago. The complexity has grown immensely. I remember when the galaxy tree first dropped, like holy crap, 3rd research tree. Now we're up to what, 6? There's so much going on, so many things to mine, so many things to collect and stay on top of that. Yeah, the complexity, at least for me, that's part of the attraction. I like the complexity. I like that it's challenging. I like that there's, that I can play it for 2.5 years and have somebody like Darius walk in and just completely school me on something that I never noticed, never tried. That's exciting for me. I have a lot of fun.
To be fair, I never cared. But
you never care as a job though. That's like your whole motif. You're like, yeah, Kirk didn't give a fuck, whatever.
Well, even if someone just takes a couple months off the game, who's been playing a while, they take a couple months off or 6 months off, and they will be walking into a completely different environment. But we don't feel like it's a different environment because we've just been doing it and going with the changes. And then it's like, oh yeah, when you think about it, wow, it's really changed a lot.
Dark had Darius, I don't know, I can't remember who the fuck it was, but it's somebody it was some lower level that came in that left back in the Uni days. And
Clown.
Somebody came in, and then basically I remember talking to Rap about it, and I was like, who the fuck is this low-level person? They're like, oh, they were here back in the day. The person literally had no idea to play the game. And they were in their high 20s. They had no idea how to play the game.
Clown was actually one of the founders of Dark. I remember back in my dry hitting days, he yelled at me like crazy. He's like, you have any idea how hard this game is? You're going to totally regret what you're doing. You need to go row if you want to survive in this game. And he was level 26, and then he quit the game. And then he came back a few months later at 26 again. And because he was a founder of Dark, he was brought back into Dark. And he was even on your show, and he quit like a month
Talking
later.
about Clown?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, when he told you that you needed to go row, he wasn't wrong, obviously, because you're row now. But yeah, I mean, back in those days, the G2 node was rarefied air. You know what I mean? You had to beat some old woman off with a stick just to be able to mine 1,000. You know what I mean? Like, you got to refine once every week.
And did they disappear then too, or did they just?
No,
Clown?
Clown quit again like a month
No,
ago.
No, I mean
he's talking about the nodes when the disappearing node trick would happen for a while there. I don't remember if G2 did that. I ran into that a lot with G3, but I think I was past G2.
No, I was talking about the fact that it was like the Wild West. Like, you would get on a mine, and you would get on a mine, and every Tom, Dick, and Harry that dropped $50 for a fucking jellyfish, there was nothing you could do. You know what I mean? There was nothing you could do unless you had a jellyfish too. And they would just come through and they were clearing your miner off. So, you almost had to play the game continuously to be able to mine. And everybody was just hitting somebody big would hit you and then you'd have to go hit a smaller person and then somebody big would come along and hit you again. It was just a pain in the ass. So people complaining about the ability to mine now, I don't know if they either forgot or they weren't around in those early days when mining was like something that you just you did if you could find a node and if you had enough time to spend there for an hour jumping from node to node because you kept getting your ass whooped.
Yep.
Yeah, man, it's nothing like it is now.
Basically, most people don't remember also the fact that what happened in those days. Like either they don't remember or they did not play at that time.
Yeah. I remember when the entire galaxy was stuck on those G2 nodes and everyone was like hogging them and hitting them like crazy. I remember that time, Kirk. It was
But I still remember when I used to go to Kepler. We used to base in Kepler and getting to, what was that, Forsthoff or what is the name? And getting there was so difficult with our envoys. I mean, I can't even imagine those days now. I think if I actually came into the game now and I went through that crap, I would have quit.
I almost quit at level 15 until I found my alliance. That's why I always say it's a social game. If it wasn't for the people I met and the friends I made, I totally would have quit 2 years ago.
Yeah, I definitely would have quit without a row. Like I couldn't go through that. Like Wild West.
You need people to talk it through. I mean, I don't think you can do it alone. Because actually, recently, in fact, 2 days ago, I left my alliance and hit this alliance because they were pissing me off. They started hitting all my grinding ships. Because according to our ROE, they can actually hit any warship. And it pissed me off. So I decided to go hit them. As I hitting the active armadas, I got a little angry. And we figured it out that it was premeditated. Like they actually did. Basically, I was the biggest linchpin in my alliance, which was winning over them in alliance events. So they wanted me out. So they actually made like this whole shit and pissed me off enough to leave and start hitting them. And now they're threatening war if I go back. So I just joined a different alliance. I mean, they actually told my alliance that they're going to go to war to any alliance that I go to. So I went and joined an alliance who's been wanting me anyway. And now they're not going to do dipshit because I basically joined the warring alliance. This guy is basically his permanent war alliance. Like they literally been at war for like years. So then I got joined with the founders.
Oh, so you guys just went through a server merge?
No, we got Windows server merge just like 3 months ago or 4 months ago. But I actually was going to join home and I did not because my alliance needed me because like I said, I was the whale. I was the big guy. I was the guy who basically grinded my ass off to win events. And recently, this is what happened. We figured it out that they actually did it to piss me off. So that I leave the alliance and they can threaten my alliance with war. And my alliance doesn't like war. So I have to leave it. It's crazy how manipulative some people can be.
It's interesting sometimes how alliances or teams will respond to try and kind of like force things to their way of thinking. But
I have someone right now.
Appreciate that.
I have someone right now who's trying to get people to leave my alliance because they think I'm a bad admiral.
Are you not a bad admiral?
He's a badass admiral. He lets his commodores do whatever they want. So I mean, what more can you want?
I don't be knowing anything about ass admirals, man.
Oh, Cook even invites us to tell him to fuck off if we want to. but we spent well.
Which I do
I need
roughly
to-
every 72 hours on
Yeah,
principle.
pretty much.
He said, "Don't be loyal to me. Just if I catch you being loyal to me, I'm gonna kick your ass."
Yeah.
I-
If they're
I'm gonna
loyal,
come.
if they're
I'm gonna
more
come
loyal to
join the
Loyal
me,
to
dead
the
the next time
alliance.
you guys have a war.
if they're more loyal to
Kirk,
me than to the
Don't threaten
alliance,
us with a good time. You're welcome in our doors anytime, man.
Well, so here's the funny story. Last time you guys had a war, I tried to get Raptor to let me join, but he just kept ignoring me. And then once the war was over, then he was like, "Oh, hey, what's up, man?"
Yeah, there was a
So wait,
strange amount of
are
radio
all of you
silence
on
when these
34 now?
conversations went there.
Which server are you guys on?
It's all
34.
34.
34.
34.
34.
So everyone here is on 34 except me.
yeah.
Oh.
Welcome
Yeah,
to the
that's right.
34
Yep.
Club.
We are the best server, I'd say. Everything revolves around
Everyone thinks the
That's-
server is the best, brother.
Best one I've ever played on.
us.
Every
So
server is good and every server is bad. Like every
No,
server has their dicks, every server has their good guys. You just have to figure out how to deal with it. That's all.
Absolutely true.
Well, when you talk about in terms of power, our server is one of the most powerful servers.
So I get that. My server actually is not that much. I mean, I actually went, like, the server I'm in right now is stupid for me because we actually were a server with maybe 60 actives. We were bad. I mean, it was so.
Ooh.
I mean, it wasn't bad because progression was so easy at that point because I could win every event. You know what I mean? And then we got merged into the founder server, and then we have about maybe 400, 500 actives right now. Maybe not even that much.
so-
Maybe less.
Are you you're an Amagon server? Or you
Yeah,
guys
I
merged?
got into Amagon server now because we got merged with them.
I didn't realize for the longest time how stacked our server really is. I played for a long time thinking that, all were like this until the server merge talk, started
No.
months ago.
We,
But
we talked about that in one of the episodes.
Oh yeah, recently, like in the last couple of months, but thinking about like
Yeah.
the last 2.5 years of gameplay that I've been in, it wasn't until I hit 34, 35, maybe let's say, 7, 8 months ago that I really became aware of how like really top heavy this server is, like how
It really
prolific
is.
we are in the 35 plus or 40 plus range.
It depends. You guys got lucky because people didn't quit. Like my server, my server is one of the not beta, but it's one of the originals because he started off at launch, at game launch. So we had about 1,000 or 1,500 people in the server as well. Unfortunately, most people quit because they couldn't handle raiding and stuff like that. So from 1,500, we end up being like 50. Imagine. That's how bad it got.
Well, we have about 19 level 50s, and we have a level 49 that actually just quit the game the other day. It actually took a week to raid his base. Darius, have they finished yet?
Wait. Are you on the same server as what do you call this guy called this guy from Rev server? What's his name? Captain Argbob or whatever. Archimedes.
Don't
No.
know.
And he was saying that there's some 49ers quit and they were apparently raiding him for like 5 days.
That was Space Ghost, maybe. But
Well, he was
no,
35.
Uni? Yeah, when Uni left, he was
He
35.
was talking about recently. I was talking to him yesterday. He said apparently there was a 49 who quit and they were raiding him for maybe 40, like literally 5 days or 6 days.
Look, we could have done this in like 2 or 3 days with 8 million pulls with a few folks in the alliance. But what we did instead was the 35s and the free to plays in Dark have been taking nibbles, right, with their 1 million cavorts and the like, and that was intentional. It's been a lot of respect from other folks. Only a couple of folks who don't really connect to the greater community have tried to like grab stuff, and they just get their asses handed to them real fast. So it's a deliberate thing that has taken a long time, and it's been good for folks in Dark. I think some people think, oh, what a disaster, it took forever. They can suck my 107 billion bar steel dick. Like that's the thing about it is like distributing this stuff evenly takes a lot of extra time, and it's better for the Alliance. We're glitching it right now from this time period. We have about a 2-hour glitch, so we might finish it off tonight. We might not. And after that, it's taken the time it was supposed to take. I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Well, and that speaks to why Server 34 has had such growth, and like you said, Eddie, we're lucky to have the people that we have on this server, because a lot of people have that mentality. Like, yeah, Dark absolutely could have made a much more efficient draining, when Nash quit, but they're taking care of the people that really need it. Like, do your 48 plus players really need to get all that RSS? Maybe not really. I mean, everybody knows how Dark raids. You guys are tops for a reason. But taking care of your F2P players, taking care of your 30 to 35 players, the guys that might not be able to raid as fast. That's a microcosm of why 34 has had such consistent growth and why we have so many top heavy players. Because we have so many people on this server that are willing to kind of take a broad view and say, if we help everybody out that we can, in a reasonable, fair play sort of way, while still maintaining, a certain level of competition, it's good for everybody. We've all spent a long time playing this game. Some of us have spent a decent amount of money playing this game, and none of us want to see that go up in smoke. So we've kind of all decided, more or less, as a server, that we want to see our own investment be able to continue, and the best way to do that is to make sure that, to some degree at least, everybody eats. That's pretty awesome. And from what I've seen from chatter on other servers, we're not exactly the norm when it comes to that. I don't want to say unique, but definitely a small percentage of servers have that mindset. So, could Dark do it in a couple of days? Oh yeah, absolutely. I don't think there's anybody on 34 that doesn't think that. But to see you guys take care of your people, the guys in the mid range and that kind of thing, that's really cool.
You hear about these servers that have like, constant wars going on, like perma wars between two alliances, and like how they have all of this conflict. Like, of course, there's conflict here, but not like what I hear about even like on your guys' show. Like, you have a couple of people come on, and then just the kind of stuff I hear about is loony. But we kind of went off on a tangent.
Server 30's been at perma war for like 8 or 9 months or something like that, from what I hear.
Dude, my server, the two alliances have been perma war for 4 years. They literally have been on and off war since launch. Since beta.
Crazy.
Yeah, that I'd quit playing or leave the alliance or something. Like, I don't know if I could deal with that. That just doesn't sound fun to me. This is not like a war game. I don't consider this to be a war game.
It's a strategy game.
Yeah, it's about progression, strategy, and growth.
Strategy and social.
Yeah, social with pixels, like Tech says. Social app with pixels. But so, Sid, we didn't lose you, did we? I think we might have lost Sid.
Yeah, it's just Sid's gonna go quiet.
You might have to leave the.
If any of us could get a word in edgewise, we might talk more.
Oh, well, Kirk left, so maybe we can talk more.
Yeah.
Hey, Sid, how you doing?
Good. How are you guys?
Good.
Awesome.
So, speaking of, Nash leaving us, unfortunately, which I was very upset. Nash and I were always, good buddies since our Eve days. But we had another player leave the game this week. It was Froyo from Salt. If you want to talk about her.
Yeah, 1 second. I'm having issues. Hold on, I'll be right back.
Okay. Also, Miss started his own podcast last week. Hi, Miss.
Who did? What did I do?
Silence.
Oh.
What did I do?
Started your own podcast.
I mean, I didn't start a podcast. No, I started a channel for my alliance to talk about it. That doesn't count.
You guys
No,
inspired people.
I'll stick with my videos that I've really been slack at. Goodness, I've been slack at.
What you put out
All
is
right.
pretty excellent, though, man. It's very nice.
Thanks, I appreciate it. I just gotta quit. It's I guess life things have come in front of that, so which is not a bad thing. There have been good things. There haven't been bad stuff, so that's good.
That does happen.
Yeah.
Indeed. But hey, it could be worse. You could have a roof fall on your head.
It was a ceiling.
Ceiling, roof.
That's why I said it's good to have fans, but nobody caught that joke. But anyway, Sid, did you work out your problem? Are you ready?
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Yeah, so we had I can't go into personal details because it was highly personal, but a longtime player and one of my officers, she had to quit. Unfortunately, it was incredibly sudden. There was a lot of personal issues, and she wanted to eliminate some of the accusations. So she quit the game and Discord so that she could rule those out or use those as, see, that's not it. It was very sudden. It was very unfortunate. And we will miss her. Her name was Froya. She was feisty. She always wanted to go to fight and always wanted to go to war. So we will miss that. And we will miss her. So if you happen to know her, hopefully she may be back eventually, but probably not anytime soon if she does happen to come back. So it's unfortunate because I hate losing anybody, but she was definitely a go-getter, and she was working her way up and doing everything she needed to do, and she contributed to the Alliance events heavily. So those points lost will suck, but such is life. As an admiral of an Alliance for almost 2 years now, I've seen a lot of players come and go, and there were some that were, when they quit, it hit pretty hard. So it's just part of the nature of the beast here. So
That's why I haven't quit, Sid. I didn't want to upset you.
yeah.
Was she in Mill? I don't remember. Was she like newer to Assault or Dread? I mean, I don't.
She probably like 6-8 months.
Okay.
What level?
I don't
was she?
remember. 38, I think 37, somewhere in there. She was like a stone's throw from hitting deep space, and she had enough like rep points and stuff to buy the ships when she got them available and shit. So, yeah.
No, so she was definitely progressing then.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
This was very all of a sudden.
Yeah. She didn't spend a lot of money, but like she spent money like economically and efficiently. And then, so yeah, so whatever money she did happen to spend, she actually spent it like very, very wisely to progress however she was looking for at that particular time. So yeah, I don't remember what alliance she came from. She came to us some 8 months ago, give or take.
No, she was the one that she had a longer name. It was Frodia, something much longer.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a Viking name.
Yep, I remember now.
Yeah, but
she kept changing it to stuff that I couldn't pronounce.
A lot of people have long names that we cut short.
Yeah.
We don't all call Lurking Tiger. We just call him Tiger.
We should. That's if you come up with such a cool name, it should be used.
I'm just gonna call him Lurker.
I mean,
Lurker.
we call you
felt-
Nick.
So would you guys like to know how this name randomly happened?
Sure.
Nothing's random with you.
Oh, everything's random. I just find meaning in the chaos. So when you sign up for an account or start playing any game on like a Samsung tablet, right? They assign you this automatic name. Just whatever randomly generated. Here's an adjective. Here's a noun. And when I first started playing STFC, the name it assigned me was Loaded Tiger, right? It was just the random that it gave me. And so for a while I was sitting on a bunch of RSS for a low-level player, I felt the name was appropriate. And then once I actually had enough power to start PvPing, once I actually had the ships to be able to jump in there and go scrap with people, that combined with my tendency to kind of sit quietly for hours at a time and then just suddenly explode with jokes or, whatever it is I do for 20 minutes. That's when I switched it to Lurking Tiger. And it was all just me grabbing some random happenstance and kind of crafting it to my purpose. So that's where that came from. The only thing in my name that has meaning is the XGBX that's at the end, and that's for one Mr. Grog B, which everybody who was with us in 13 would be familiar with. It's just an honorific for a player that isn't with us anymore. So the rest of it is pure happenstance.
Yeah, that's better.
Very interesting.
Better reasoning than my name, but I don't want to go into that one.
No, see, people actually call me Drift. Not everyone does, but people actually do. But it's usually taken, so that's where the two I's came from. And now, if I used an L, even though in my game name, I gotta change this one.
So, Sid, Handy, how's it's been a couple weeks since you two became sisters. How's it feel?
Oh, I'm ready to kick my sister out of the house.
Yeah.
I'm
It
kidding.
sucks. I'm going home. Screw you guys. I said it backwards, damn it.
Well, it's going good. I mean, nothing really to report at the moment, aside from just trying to get everybody used to it and get everybody familiar with each other as much as possible, and trying to help get people caught up, share information, etc.
Yeah, it's Smooth is over hanging out with us for a few days. We had Twisted over. I think Twisted's coming back with the new arc. Smooth said he'd be with us for 3 or 4 days or something. I don't know. But he's been helping out, running armadas. He's got a 7-seater, so that definitely helps. And his ships can carry quite a few people. So we're doing some of the higher mud matas and that kind of stuff that we would have to have a full stack of Max Stellas and perfect crew. So it's been good. Otherwise, everything's
Send
been
them
going
my way.
fine. Yeah, right.
Sorry, Pepper.
We had Borg for a minute, and then yeah. So I mean, everything's going good. We're just like Handy said, we're just adjusting, getting used to the flow, and getting used to each other and bonding, so to speak. Nothing major.
Yeah, that's good.
Downplay.
Well,
Yeah.
what
One
else are
thing
we
is-
gonna say? There's not much to
Well,
report.
I know there was that one guy dry hitting Nona and Salt because he's mad at you.
I do.
What was it, an ex-bold guy? Mad at you, Handy, for the Isogen agreement, so he's hitting Nona and Salt.
That sounds like more content for Ted, Kirk, and Handy's show. That's
True.
Yeah, to be totally
let's leave
honest,
leave
guys,
the juicy bits for Sunday.
if I'm gonna talk about it anywhere, it'd be here, and that's it. Because somebody like that, you just don't give attention to. But to
We
be
know what
totally
that's like.
honest, I think I saw that person like once or twice in the past 3 weeks.
Yeah, we haven't hardly had any problems. I saw his ship floating out in the
He doesn't even
Frankie
play.
A spots, and we were
It's
debating on whether we wanted to go blow it up, but he had a strong Frank, so
I mean,
Yeah,
it's really a non-issue.
You know
they just get
what's interesting
lost
about
in the
most of these
noise.
briefers? Go ahead, Drift.
Just saying they just get lost in the noise with the rest of the, just the dirt or
I
whatever.
mean, the guy's so ineffective. I completely forgot he existed for the past week until you just brought him up. Like, I'm not even exaggerating.
No, I get that because I keep forgetting about Emily until someone brings her up in the Lions chat.
That's the thing about these Greek players. They
Yeah.
just don't. They're not really relevant. They make a lot of noise. They'll jump into GC and talk a bunch of trash or whatever. But the reality is, they're often players that don't progress well. They may have some game knowledge, and I'm not going to sit here and say that our version Emily doesn't have that. She's got some good qualities about it, but they're a lot more focused on making noise in general chat or in Galaxy chat than they are actually doing what they say they are. And most of the people that they're trying to either upset or disrupt or whatever, they generally don't have the ability or the power or what have you to be able to do that. It's
Emily
almost
is
kind of a joke.
harmless. Yes, other than her
Yeah,
words,
I mean,
she's harmless.
my Horizon almost killed her today. I mean, like it really like it doesn't matter. You can't really interrupt my mining schedule. If you blow up my miner and wipe me off a node, oh no, I gotta go find a new one. Sorry, I've been doing this for 2.5 years. I lived through all the glitches and all the weirdness and all the stuff that happened a couple of years ago with Scopely's programming. There's nothing a single player can really do to get under somebody's skin unless you let them do that. And I don't really care
Correct.
what level range you
Bingo.
are. They might be a bigger player than you are. They could be 6, 8 ops
Doesn't
levels
matter.
ahead of you. Yeah, it doesn't matter. The
Unless
reality
somebody
is
is literally spending 20 days harassing your entire alliance, which, let's be real here, nobody's that diligent except for
What?
maybe Space Ghost.
We had that.
And other than that, I mean, you're just not going to do much. Not in today's game.
yeah, realistically, I think the griefers know that, and that's why they're so
Deep
active
down,
in
maybe.
general chat. That's why they're so active in personal messages, because really they know that the only power that they've got is to try and get under people's skin and get a reaction. Anything short of that, and there's not really much they can do to disrupt you. So, for the most part, they're not really worth thinking about. Just let them be.
I mean, even with the try hitting, you're rarely hitting someone who actually needs what they're mining. They're just mining for their daily, and it's not really going to affect them much, and it's not even that much that you need to mine.
yeah, all those dirt guys and the Toph and all them guys, like you never see their miners out. You never see any warships out unless you just happen to cross, open up a system and they're going through and clearing it or targeting or whatever. I've camped out by their bases for weeks, and they're all broke and their ships suck.
Anybody who plays like that, unless they spend a lot of money, they're completely crippling their gameplay. So it's a big running joke. It's a big running joke for everybody in an alliance that knows what's up. It's a huge running joke that these people that run around solo or run around in these, no row alliances, it's just a big joke. I mean, why do you think all of the alliances that are number one are the ones that are the most peaceful? I mean, why do you think that is? You know what I mean? It's like, do
Dark's
people
the
really
most
not get the
peaceful.
connection?
They care about the game.
They really are.
It was a joke, but yeah,
They really are. They're very peaceful.
I know.
And they're very understanding, and they take the time to talk things out. It's just if you're throwing bullshit their way, which is far and few between these days, I mean, yeah, they'll react just like we will, but for the most part, yeah, I mean, They do their own thing, and they don't really give a crap what everybody else is doing.
Yeah, it's like the most fun I think of having this game is like raid defending. Like if you're you're raiding a base and then they come defend or you go defend. Like and then at the end of it, it's like good fight.
Yeah.
From both sides. Like that's the most fun that I have in this game. I think.
Man, when we were in Meld, when Meld was there, we had a hive, and Dark was a constant visitor. And dude, some of the best times we had was Dark showing up to hit our slackers on the shields, and they thought it was fantastic. It was like poking a bee's nest, and because we'd all show up and start roughing them up, and it was fun. It got annoying after a while, but it was still some of the best times that just going and beating each other up for a few minutes or a few hours, however long it lasted, and then everybody goes back to their corners and then come back the next day and do it all again. And it was great times.
100%. It was great. And that was right about the time Dark reformed too. So without boring details about Dark history, Kevin and Block and all the rest, they had just started spending money at that point, right? So they were within our power range. It was high end, but we could still contend with them. It's a lot different today when a 50 with 3 ships shows up, right? But still, you get a lot of satisfaction out of stopping people from defending, and then when you get a handshake afterwards, it's even better.
That was fun.
I ended up in Dark, honestly. I stayed in touch with those guys in the end. They were very good to me during a weird period of I had a head problem again. So it turned out that was how it happened, right? And sometimes Dark goes too far these days, but I don't think they were going too far then. It was more like play till we kind of win, we kind of lose, and then everyone shakes hands and goes home. It was great.
Yeah, I mean, Dark has made a few changes recently that I don't necessarily think is good for the Alliance as a whole, but I understand why they're doing it, and I'm not going to criticize them, but that's all I'll say about that.
And that's probably about the right amount to say. I think I don't disagree that Dark's made some changes. I will say that some of them are for good reasons. Some of them I'm not on board with, but I'm aligned because that's what you do when you're a leader is you get aligned once you all make a decision, right? But it's the game itself is not changing necessarily, but the people that are still left want to play a slightly different game, I think, today than they wanted to play in the beginning. So I just go ahead.
I just want to take a moment to appreciate the phrase "dark history." Like the way that resonates. That's fun. Thank you for that.
That is a good point.
The last thing we wanted to talk about, I think we'll segue from there. But the next thing we wanted to talk about was this is a subject that Sid brought up today of low-level hostile crews and the importance of Chen in a hostile crew like Pike Moro Chen, right?
Yeah. So I have a player. He's newer to our alliance, and I think he came from another alliance that just they didn't have any information. Like they didn't pay attention. They were all kind of doing their own thing, so nobody really knew the little intricacies of proper crewing and this and that. And he got one of his big goals in the game was to get an Enterprise. He got the Enterprise. Well, for some reason, somebody at some point told him that you can only run the Enterprise if you have Kirk on board as captain. So he kept his Enterprise kept dying, and he wasn't. I mean, it's like T3, so it wasn't like it's not big enough to be super ballsy yet. But he honest to God, nobody told him otherwise, and he never asked until he's like, dude, I can't do any hostiles I can only kill 4 or 5. And we're like, well, what are you doing? He's like, well, I got my Kirk on there. And we're like, well, use PMC, Pike, Moreau, and Chen. Oh, I didn't know you could use those on the Enterprise. Like, I only thought you could use Kirk. And it's like, no. Like, PMC is your go-to hostile killing crew setup, no matter what ship you have. And it's a solid go-to. You always use it. And he's like, okay, I'll do that. And he swapped out his crews real quick. And like 20 minutes later, he's like, holy shit, that makes a huge difference. We're like, yeah. So that's one of those things, like, you don't really think about some of these people that come from other alliances that they don't have any information. So this, that's why I want to say, like, use PMC as much as you possibly can. It's universal for almost every ship. I mean, yeah, there may be exceptions here and there, but yeah.
Let me just drop a thought here. Let me just drop a thought here. It's really important in STFC, and this is something I've noticed the whole time I've been playing the game. Everybody has an answer. Everybody has, oh, use this crew. Oh, do this, do that. Every player in this game should really take everybody's advice with a grain of salt, because if there's one thing I've learned playing this game, there's not necessarily the same right answer for every player and every play style and every section of the game. So it's really important when the higher level players in your alliance, for example, are telling you, hey, do this, give that its proper weight, but at the same time recognize that they're in a different spot in their game experience than where you're at. So
That's a very,
what's
very
right
good
for
point.
me might not necessarily be the right thing for you. If my officers are maxed and you're in your middle 20s, say, and you don't necessarily have the officer options that I do at 41, you've got to kind of take what I've said to you, take whatever advice I've given you, and compartmentalize it, because
I've given
it's
some
been a
bad
long
advice.
time. Yeah,
I've given some bad advice to people in their low 40s just because it's been such a while since I was there that I just sometimes don't remember.
Yeah, you're talking about what you're doing now versus what you were doing 10 or 15 levels ago, and so, we sometimes lose touch with the fact that, we've got all of these options in front of us. I mean, I have like maybe 7, 8 officers in this game that I haven't unlocked at this point. And I sometimes forget when I'm talking to our 20s and lower 30 guys that, hey, they might not have all of these guys. They might not have, Chen Max. They might not have Moreau Max. They might not even have Pike yet.
Yeah, I was talking to somebody the other day that didn't even have Pike, I think.
Yeah. And I think that's true for in
Honestly,
Dead. I think that's true for like maybe 20%, 30% of our alliance. There's a number of players that don't have those officers yet. So we got to be able to tailor that advice.
I think our lower levels are more likely to have Picard than to have Pike, honestly.
But now that we're on that subject, though, like, talk about a crew that's, if you don't have Pike.
Right, that was my my tie-in with the. So, luckily he had all three. He has PMC, but if he didn't, I can't remember, and it's just me. I can't remember the cadet crew and the new TNG. Like, so what would be if you don't have, like, say you don't have Pike yet, but you have Moreau Chen, or vice versa, you don't have one of them. What's a good solid crew that you can use for, up to level 30, 33 or whatever?
I mean, the cadets, right? I mean, there's two sets of cadets in the game.
TNG.
Yeah, there's two sets of cadets. Go ahead. Yeah, I'll go actually. There's two sets of cadets, right? And they are identical except for there's only one cadet, Scotty, right? So no double warp stuff happening because they don't want you to have warp 10 without it only being on Explorers and toss Scotty or whatever the F that is, right? So, but that the damage reduction from the Cadet Ahura / Cadet Geordie or whatever the hell he's called, because give it to the black folks, I guess. Is pretty nice when you set it up right. It's no Pike Moreau Chen or Pike anyone Chen, frankly, from Shakedown Crew, but or Picard someone, right? But it is better And when you're dealing with ships in the high 2-star, low 3-star range, like the non-faction ships, it works. I think forgetting the stuff we have and answering questions simply is it's a failure on our parts, generally speaking. It's also why I never answer the question, "What's the best crew for?" without saying, "It depends. Who do you have? Let me know what A, B, and C is, or do you have X, Y, Z?" I mean, I have a player from Most visiting Dark who's in the 40s, who I have had to explain that the combat log has an information button between the two ships, and you should take a look at that sometimes, compare these things, and lots of other things that I would consider to be basic, but that are not basic really because the game does not explain them to you. And when you don't know what you're looking for, of course, we can all agree it's hard to find, right? But the cadets can be improved a little bit if you just have Pike. Moreau's ability is super overestimated in its utility by folks, but it is better than none. Beverly's awesome, but again, not everyone has her. So and there's also Linkasa, your favorite forgotten green Klingon who can boost the armor on your ship by a ridiculous amount and make you basically immune to battleships. So there's a couple of other options that you can kind of put through. Also, using 1 of 10 and some synergy, you can get your mitigation up to 80%. So think about that.
The real fact is that 80 to 90% of players are too lazy to look at any of those nuances. And this is based on this is all the way to the top, guys. It's just cold, hard truth. Most players, myself included, are too lazy much of the time to sit there and go through all the officers and read all the, or they forget or whatever. But most people don't mess with it. Like, they have a vague idea or they have certain officer setups that they remember off the top of their head, so that's what they use. And most people, that's what works for them, and they use it over and over again until somebody tells them the new greatest thing.
I think the real challenge as experienced players is learning to shift the narrative away from the what is the best crew question, like Darius brought up, and instead turn that conversation into what is the most important stat, or what is the most important
or just
consideration.
Make people figure it out on their own. Really, make people figure it out on their own. Just teach them how to pick apart officers and what goes with what and why. Yes. I mean, I would hazard a guess that many people at all levels don't understand the fundamentals of this game.
That's
just
correct.
Flat out do not understand. They just copy other people, and that takes them all the way. And they do not understand at all.
I can name, well, I'm not going to name them, but I can name 6 40-plus players from last week alone that I had to, I didn't have to, but I kept seeing they were blowing up in Chronos, where I've been grinding for the last 6 years, it seems like. But they kept trying to hit a heavy transport, and they kept blowing up. And I'm like, you're riding around in a 9 million jelly
or whatever.
Yes, and I messaged them, and they're like, what do you mean? And I'm like, dude, you're like 43, and you're running around in a 9 million jelly. How do you not know? I mean, obviously, I didn't say that to them. I was like, hey, I just want to let you know this is blah blah blah. And they're like, oh my gosh, this is great. Thank you so much. And I'm like, man, that's just like that stuff that came out in release notes. I mean, I know. That's how I know.
It's a lot of this basic knowledge is unknown by many people, and it's a little dumbfounding. But for the people like us that get into these voice chats multiple times a week and spend hours upon hours a month talking about this stuff, yes, we understand it because we talk about it. But most people do not do what we do. They do not spend the kind of time picking the game apart or talking about it. Like, you don't even have to pick apart the game. You just have to talk to people like us in voice chats on a regular basis, and you'll understand.
I mean, I
But
think sometimes the hardest part is just getting them to join Discord and talk to us.
well,
A
yeah,
lot
that
of
too.
audiences don't do the teaching either, which is a big problem that we've all noticed. Somebody mentioned they just copy crews because a lot of times that's just what you're told. Look at everybody else's crew, do that.
And that's
Nobody's
from
telling you.
that's
Yeah.
from laziness. And I have sent people the same advice because I'm busy as fuck. And a lot of times I don't have the time.
Exactly.
Yep. But
Well,
I'm
I
just
mean,
like, if they get the chance, like, okay, do that right now. Maybe later on we'll talk about it or something like that. But a lot of alliances don't even give that as an option.
Right.
They're not attempting to help people through the knowledge to understand why the heck am I supposed to be using this crew. For a long
and
time, I didn't know
that's
why the heck I was supposed to be using certain crews. I knew which crews worked for what, but I didn't know why they worked.
Right.
I just knew that if I was going to an armada, I brought this crew. If I wanted to go kill, I brought this crew. Why?
And therein lies the issue, though. That's my
Yeah.
whole point. You know,
Yeah.
and in hindsight, looking back on some of the advice I've given and what we're talking about now, I mean, we need to help educate each other better.
well, this is the reason why.
It's about flipping the narrative and making people understand what has weight and what doesn't. You know, like you can get really big, impressive damage numbers with certain crews and things like that, but damage isn't necessarily the most effective thing to do. You know, if penetration carries heavier weight than damage does, then, you know, we need to talk to players and let them know that, you know, hey, don't worry about your raw damage numbers on the left side. Look at the right side of the battle report and see
I
what's penetrating.
I think
You
it's
know, for
important to
example,
qualify a player before giving advice. So you ask the
absolutely
player,
true.
look, like, how much of the officers do you understand? Like, do you go listen to do you go listen to DJs? Do you listen to Trek Talk? Do you listen to Fireside? Like, do you listen to this stuff? Do you listen to even that dipshit pirate guy? Do you listen to these people that talk about officers? Do you go listen to these podcasts? Like, how invested are you in the game? And then that's gonna kind of dictate. I mean, because the right answer for most players is copy. Just copy people, because I know you're too lazy to go look to understand, and that's okay for some people. But for the people that do want to spend the time to learn this stuff, we should teach them.
I mean, I think that that it's one thing to start off with. Look at what they're using in that combat log, and for the Armada, copy that, and then you go back and you see that they copied it, and then you go and say, okay, now do you see? Then you go and use it as a lesson of, do you see what the difference was between what you're using? Here, let's break down what the stats of them were, what the abilities of them were, why that worked versus a different crew. But you had them start off with that so they can visualize and see right there, wow, that made a big difference. I actually lived or something.
Well, I mean, this is why I started my videos to begin with. It was for our alliance, was to explain these type things, and then it was like, well, DJs watched it and was like, hey man, this could be really great. More can come from this. And I'm like, you're right. I mean, I've had some commenters who were like, I can't believe you're flying around a jelly and telling people about green officers. I'm like, well, it's because I wish someone had told me that before I was level 23, before I made it to that. I basically am taking things when I get around to doing it, taking things that I wish I had known ahead of time that would have saved me so many steps, or would have saved me money that I spent that should have been spent somewhere else.
True.
Or
But at the same time, some of these things weren't
time's
around when
money
we were
too.
that level.
Time's money too.
yeah.
Well, and the game's so much different than it was when we started out too.
Yeah,
So
the game is so different from when we started out. I mean, when we started out, hitting level 20 felt as daunting as it is to hit level 39. And hitting level 39 felt as daunting as hitting level 50. I never thought I'd see 39. Now I'm at 41.
Oh, I
Well,
was going to be
imagine,
39 for like 2 years, but obviously that didn't last. But that's what I kept
Yes.
telling myself.
I kept saying to Danny, I'm going to be 39 for like the next year. 5 months later, I'm 41.
Yeah, he did the same thing with 40. By the way, he was going to be 40 for a long time.
Darius
No,
was
I
never
said I was
going
going to be
past
40
39
for a
either.
month.
Just so we put
Yeah,
that out there.
Well, imagine if you had to still buy all your badges for your officers. You know, like getting
what
those
are
things
badges?
When I did my ships, instead of doing ship packs,
I
did
am so
recruit packs.
envious of players that got to promote their officers before badges were a thing. Oh my god.
You know, I have a ridiculous, just an absolute obscene amount of badges to where I don't think I've ever gone to click a button and not had a badge for whatever.
We buy stuff though.
I can say the same for 2 out of 3 categories, but those command badges seem to go really quick, and they go low sneaky on me. You know, I've looked in there. I think I have like, I don't know, 20 plus science badges, but my command badges are sitting at like 4, 3.
They only used to
something
give
like
you
that.
one set though. Like they'd give you one set when you reached I forget what rep level that you got that at.
Well,
and then you get another set like at 20 million or something.
After faction lock, I think every one of the I think when you hit faction lock, they start giving you those the loyalty chests or whatever they are in the faction store, and each one of those seems to have at least a badge or 2 every time you rep up at this point.
You get a set. You get a set of badges, and then some officers take like 6 badges to max.
I came along thankfully during the battle pass stage where they just kept giving them away.
Yep. Now it's awesome. Now,
that was when I started needing them. Was when they actually started giving them, because I used to tell Kirk, I'm like, where the heck am I supposed to get these things? He's like, oh, don't worry, you're gonna get them. You'll be able to open those loyalty chests, and you'll get them then. I don't think I ever had to open one.
That's
just a magic chest.
Yep.
All of a sudden, when these battle passes came out, Scopely turned into Oprah.
Well, you know, there is something to be said for riding the middle of the pack. I mean, when you ride the middle of the pack, you by far save a lot of time, resources, money in staying around the center of the pack because of the obvious.
That's 100% true, because I wouldn't be able to have made it from 35 to 41 at the speed that I've done it without being able to hit this sweet spot where Scopely recognizes that it did something, a little too fast or made something a little too hard, and they do their little makeup chests and their add-ons and stuff like that. And I've been lucky enough to hit like the sweet spot every single time the game makes an update to speed something up or make a progression a little easier. I've been at exactly the right ops level to be able to take advantage of that and maximize it. And that's nothing but pure luck. I mean, that's just them catching up to their own mistakes and gifting the players. And I've just been at the right spot to be able to take advantage of it.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever known what that feels like.
I'd like to say I'm sorry for you, but I don't have it in me, man. I'm sorry.
No, don't feel sorry for me. It's totally self-inflicted, and I knew what I was doing.
I'm sitting at 36 at a 36 to 39, range of ops levels for any of my auctions that I'm in. It's just horrible. So I have none of the new officers. Like I don't think I have a single one besides Beverly.
And 39 is rough for that right now, because everybody's starting to follow the advice to jump to that level. And so the events, the leaderboards, stuff like that, they're just bloated with committed players. You've really got to plan hard to be able to crush leaderboards at 39. It's difficult.
Yeah, I went to 40, and then I was like, oh, wow, 40, 41. Hey, it's pretty easy. I can actually get in these leaderboards. And before you knew it, Tiger, Yar, and Vidar are all there with me. And I'm like, you guys follow me. They're like, well, yeah, 39 sucks.
What did you tell Handy 6 months ago? You said if you see guys in dead on a leaderboard, expect the rest of the server to be there in 4 weeks.
Yeah. That is something I said.
I can't wait to get to 39 so I can start upgrading my enterprise again. Because I made a pact with myself not to put a single shred of mats in it until I get there.
What's
Yeah,
yours?
I'm 41 and I'm still tier 4.
Yeah, so say we all.
Yeah.
I was more frustrated with the way they had the tier payouts more so than anything. And I think I said this before that I was super excited that Lady was able to get Troy. It was great. I mean, she finished like 10th in an auction with like 900,000 points, which I haven't seen an auction of that, and I can't even tell you how long. She got 50 shards, and here I am in like 7th place with 6 million points, and I get 10. And I'm like, my gosh. Because she's like, I'm about to unlock her. And I'm like, how in the world? She's like, I got 10th. And I'm like, well, yeah, how did you do that, though? She's like, they gave me 50 shards for 10th. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
We
Yeah,
have a
yeah, my,
level 24 that unlocked Troy.
It's yeah. Once you get to the 40,
we have a
stuff's
24
bullshit.
that promoted Troy.
Get the board.
Wow.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm lucky if I have shit unlocked. It's ridiculous. I still don't have Picard.
I mean, not that I feel like I need her, because I mean that's really generally, at least at our alliance, there's 5 or 6 of us. Our role is to bring the power. So I wasn't necessarily going to bring Troy. It's better that maybe someone at 24 have it, But it was so frustrating that, here I am at like 6 million points, throwing in what I can throw and only getting 10 shards, and 10th place is getting 50.
Yeah, they need to kind of reward the higher levels a little bit better, just a little bit.
I'll say from a coming up perspective, like the leaderboards in the 40 plus range are absolutely ridiculous. They're paying out like the top 5, maybe top 10 spots, and a couple of ranks below that, in the 39 range, or go all the way down to the 20s and the early 30s, they're paying out the top 20, 30 spots. It's insane the difference in investment that players are getting when it comes to these leaderboards lately.
It's highway robbery is what it is.
That's exactly right. It's ridiculous. They're milking the players that are invested, and that's really what it comes down to.
The very first Picard event they had, basically my bracket, they had first, second, and third got shards and nobody else. And then the under 39 had like down to like 30th place got shards. And I sent Scopely a strongly worded letter and was like, what the F is this? Like, are you freaking kidding me? Like, what I really believe it is they're sending out the same freaking event to every single server. Well, I'm sorry. We have 10 times the amount of people in my bracket that a lot of these other servers do. And it's just not weighted properly. They either need to break up, they need to give us an extra bracket, or something. They need to do something. Because they're just robbing a lot of people.
Flat out sell them, but they know they can make so much more money auctioning.
Of course.
So frustrating.
Especially when people have to go and do an auction multiple times and still not get it. I mean, their whole shtick is to strip us of all of our resources so that we can't level up, and we have to buy packs to do the leveling.
But to be fair, we let them do this because when I've talked with DJs here and there, and we've chatted, and we've shared leaderboards, and he's winning an ISS Jelly refit with 1.5 million points.
Jesus.
Yeah, I mean, and like their top guy is winning it with 4 million, and here we are throwing 12, 15, 20 million into a points into a thing, and we do it over and over and over and over again.
Our server is filled with a bunch of try-hard idiots. That's all I can say. And it's just
It's absolutely self-defeating.
No, we just have too many tryhards in the same freaking bracket.
You imagine if you could get everyone to like not participate in any of the auctions. Like,
It won't happen. But no, I like the idea.
The only time I can actually place in top 3 in the level 50 bracket is if I PM the other people that are close to me and say, hey man, can I have this one? That's like literally the only way. Otherwise, they just end up buying me out. And I'm just not willing to dump all of my resources into one auction. I'm just not going to do it.
I think I've only won, two auctions the whole time I've ever played.
No, well, I've won a bunch of them, but still, out of the 1,000 we've had or whatever, it's only a handful that I've won.
I mean, I've placed in more, but it's like actually winning. I guess I've just won 2.
Like first.
Yeah.
Well, I consider winning getting what I wanted out of it, personally.
That's why
Like
the advice that I give to players in Dead, when I have the opportunity, when it comes to leaderboards, it's not about necessarily winning on our server, but place. Get yourself enough that you get something out of what you had to spend for it. Don't chase number 1, number 2, maybe even number 3, because at that point you're competing against people that are willing to drop credit card money on this. And
not only
at the end
that,
of the
they
day,
just don't care what they spend. These are people that literally are flat out not looking at what they're actually spending and what they're getting in return. I mean, you're literally getting you're getting a penny on the dollar. I mean, it's like, are you freaking kidding me, guys? Why are you spending so much on these stupid auctions? You're getting a penny on the dollar. Why don't you wait 30 days until it comes out in the store? Like, it
it's
just
people's
blows my
competitive
mind.
nature. Like they don't want to pass up that instant gratification. They don't want to pass up the bragging rights of, oh, I crushed this leaderboard or whatever. But really, at the end of the day, like with the milestone events or the companion events that they put out with each of these officer auctions and things like that, they're giving you a way to be able to, I don't want to say half-ass, but I can't find the right phrase for it. But you can kind of go in there and chip away at what you're trying to get, and not have to spend your ass off to be able to hit that automatic unlock. Like, I'm personally fine with chipping away at a given officer and pulling 25, 50 shards, whatever it is, a little bit at a time, knowing that they're going to run this event 2, 3, 4 times during the arc, to be able to unlock this officer without having to dump everything that I've stashed and everything that I've been saving for to try and take number 1 or number 2. It's not about necessarily winning every leaderboard that's out there. It's just about maximizing your spending. If I've got to drop a bunch of officer XP, if I want to level up a couple of officers, whether it's for away teams or PvP or whatever my priority is, I can kind of chip away at that over the course of a month and be able to still get what I want without having to completely drop my load and have to fully commit to winning one leaderboard. I'm okay taking 10, 15, whatever every time a leaderboard runs, because at the end of the day, or at the end of the arc, or the end of the month or year or whatever, I'm still going to end up with that officer. I'm still going to have my deck stacked. And you don't have to throw 10, 15, 20 million points at a jelly auction to be able to unlock your jelly. You just have to be patient enough to be able to kind of chip away at that blueprint requirement and make sure that after a couple of months of patience, you've got what you were trying to get. You don't have to get it all at once. And Scopely depends on you feeling like you have to get it right now to be able to make their money. For us as players, we just have to stay patient, really. And our server doesn't seem to understand that.
Well, I think the frustration is... Go ahead, I'm sorry.
People also want to participate in the right now, like this a new officer, they got new abilities, they want to participate in using this officer and having conversations about, hey, I used it this way, and be a part of the conversation like now. Like they don't want to be a part of the conversation once everybody's already kind of had the fun. If that makes any sense.
Yeah,
No, it
I mean,
does. It does.
it gets better and better as the lower the level you are, which is it's nice for the low levels, but the people that put in the long haul get screwed, and that's where I think is a bigger issue. You know, like the 24-25 level. You know, Tam managed to place in every event without spending a penny. That's awesome. You know, but the people that have spent a lot of money, they really should be given a larger bracket to at least get those partial pulls.
I think they need to do a better job of segmenting the top end of the game. You know, like when I look at a
Yeah.
leaderboard now, I see, 34s and 35s competing with 41s. You know, as a 41, I'm looking at, 50s on my leaderboard. And we all kind of look at that and go, there's no fucking way.
Well,
You know,
yeah,
I
of course.
can't
It's
compete with
ridiculous.
I can't compete with the research points or the station points that Handy, for example, can throw. You know, as a 41, there's nothing I can build that is going to compete with that. You know, and it's the same for every level bracket you want to look at, whether it's 20s, 30s, 40s, whatever. There's not a lot of segmenting of those brackets to be able to make it so that players in that range have a chance. You know, and I think that's something that's been broken in this game since day one. When you look at like the hit ranges and things like that, the PvP ranges. You know, as a 41, I have no business being able to hit a 27, 28, 30 player. There's nothing they can do to stop me but shield. Same thing for a player at 41, where a 49 or a 50 can come hit me. There is nothing I can do except for shield that stops anything they can throw at me. And I think that really comes back to Scopely's level ranges being broken. There's no real competitive answer.
The reason they're
bracket.
grooving it together like that is they don't want to give out too many resources. It's all about making that dollar.
Well,
it's just
and
a cold hard
you've got to
truth,
be able to make
unfortunately.
it so that you've got to make it so that the higher end players can still have a reason to keep playing the game. Like, why would a 49, 50 player continue to play this game and face the resource the rest of that if they can't raid easy targets? You know, if every raid is a challenge, why raid? So I get why the level ranges are as broad as they are, but at the same time, the level ranges are built in such a way that they discourage lower level players from continuing the game.
Yeah, but if you want to talk about rating, I mean, that's a whole different subject. It's a challenge because of the cargo capacity.
I think really, I don't have any problem with the level ranges, but of course I wouldn't. But still, even if I was a lower level, it's like at least you can play the game with everybody. You know what I mean? Like, imagine that it didn't scale as it does, and that anybody 46 to 50, you don't ever see them. You don't hear from them. They can't hit you. I mean, just think about that disconnect for a minute. Like, you would be segregating those higher level players so much that they would absolutely quit the game because they ain't got anybody to play with.
Yeah, that is
absolutely true. Absolutely true.
So they got to keep it how it is. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
but
anyway.
the circle back around what we were talking about before, though, with like, why are they doing things the way they do with the auctioning, and instead of just giving the higher players the option to unlock these officers, it's about they're making more money this way. They know exactly what they're doing.
Yeah, they do.
Like, because they can see how the lower levels are winning these auctions. Like, tons of the people in their 20s are getting them, and they can see that they could easily copy and paste that. But like what we were saying earlier, Handy, about these people that are just willing to just throw 10 grand at an auction to win 10 shards and not even unlock the officer. Like, that's better than selling $400 unlocks to, like 100 whales or whatever.
But that's the whole issue I have with it is our players are being idiots. Like,
yeah.
wake up, guys! For fuck's sake! Stop
They've done
it.
the math. Like, believe it. They've definitely done the math. And that, this is a finished product. Like, y'all just talk about people like that, a conversation about the Enterprise splitting open the two crews and all that kind. You know what I mean? It's like they're not going to go through any kind of
They're not
effort
doing
like that.
any of that crap.
No, that's just you're dreaming. This is a finished product, and they're going to use this mechanics that are in place. There could be new officers, new pretty pixels, new abilities, that kind of whatever can fit in the mechanics that are in play.
Yeah,
And
I mean, they do add things. They add new mechanics, but they add things to make the game more interesting and keep people playing and solve issues and things like that. But they're never going to give us anything that's game breaking. They can't. So don't wish for it.
Lower your wishes.
Yeah, lowered expectations.
But yeah, so we're over 90 minutes, so maybe we should close it out. But if you guys want to keep chatting after that, Cook, you still here?
Yep, I'm here. I was just enjoying the chatter.
And I'll walk us out.
All right. Thanks everyone for another great show. This has been Fireside-episode. Thanks, Reddy, Darius, Sidious, Mistaken Silence, Handy, Danny, Tiger, and Drift. It was another great show. And Kirk was here earlier.
Tiger.
Anytime, Cook. Thanks.
The rest of these guys are great, though.
All right, Lurking Tiger. I'm sorry.
Fuck Tiger. He's an asshole. The rest of these people are great, though. Thanks for coming out.
Loaded Tiger. How's that?
I like that one. It's good and random.
Oh my word.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.